All right, hello. So, another live stream, another one working on Incus features, but this time not on OCI. Following those two OCI live streams, we did get the initial OCI image support into Incus 6.3, which was released last week. And I've then done a few fixes here and there to try and get more things working. But in general, it's there. There are some more changes that can be done to make more things work. But basically, just looking at reports on the forum and on GitHub to just kind of fill in the gaps on that at this point. So I'm switching focus to try and deal with other issues that are impacting a lot of people. And one of those is handling cluster upgrades. I think every time we release a new Incus version, we've got a bunch of people coming to the forums or on GitHub that report that like, hey, I'm trying to update some of my servers and my entire cluster is like the update is hanging and I can't access the cluster anymore. A lot of that is because they've not read the documentation. The Incus, we'll look at the Incus cluster documentation. It actually does have a section specifically on dealing with upgrades, which I believe is in the manager cluster and upgrade cluster members. There we go. And that specifically says that you like do not upgrade if some members are offline, and because that can cause you to be in a community blocked state, and that all members must be upgraded to the same version of Incus at the same time. So it's all there, it's in the documentation, but a lot of people don't see that, or they use tooling that updates servers in batches, but not necessarily all of the right servers at the same time. It's always a bit of a mess. The reason for that logic to exist in the first place is because like clusters need to be consistent. We have a shared database. The database schema does change over time. And as that changes, well, you can't have older versions that don't understand the new schema or newer versions that expect the new schema but are still talking to the old one. So the way this works is we actually have one table that we pretty much can't mess with, or at least can't mess with all of the columns on it, which stores the state of all of the servers, specifically what their schema version is and what the API version is. So we don't actually care about the Incus version at all. That's not something we look at, but we instead look at what actually matters, which is database state, API state. So if I go on like one of my servers here at home, there we go, and I go look at the database. We can look at the nodes table, which is what stores that data, and can see, maybe try just to make it smaller so everything fits. Yeah, there we go. It does show 3 servers, their description, their IP address, and then the 2 columns that actually matter for this, which are the schema and API extensions tables. So schema includes the current schema version supported by Incus. So we can see currently that all of the updates were applied and runs on schema 73. But effectively each server as it starts up knows internally what its schema version is supposed to be and will update that table immediately on startup, reporting what its schema version is. And then for the API extensions, what we do is it's effectively the list of API extensions you have here, and we just count them because it's append only. So higher count just means the API was changed and effectively extended. So then what happens on actual startup is Incus, well, the first server that updates, it's gonna stop its Incus daemon. It's gonna replace it with the new version, and it's gonna start it back up. When it does that, it's gonna go and update that table to report its new schema version and API extension count. And then it's gonna look at the rest. If it sees that all of them are already on the same version and same number of API extensions as itself, it moves on, starts up, it's fine. If it notices that some servers are behind, it's gonna wait there. It's going to wait there, and then I think it retries every 10 seconds or something like that, waiting for all of them to be on the same schema and API extensions version. So that means that it will not risk accessing anything in the database because the database that's currently running is still on the old version. And it won't update the database schema to the new version because that would break the existing servers. So it just waits for all of them to run the exact same schema across all servers. And once that's true, then all of them will unblock. Whichever gets elected the database leader within the cluster will go on and apply the schema updates. And then all of the servers are then able to interact with the database using the new features. So that's how that works. It's a necessity for the database side. The only other way we could handle this is by effectively keeping database schema backward compatible, or having duplicate logic in the code to access both the old and new schema everywhere. That's not really something that's feasible for us. I mean, it could be done, but we don't have the kind of resources, especially around testing, to make sure that something like that would work. So for the database schema, the reality is that we're likely to keep the current logic. It's been working well enough, and people that do understand how that works don't really have any issue with that. We might need to clarify the documentation maybe a bit to make it even clearer. Something that would be neat is for the package management tools themselves to effectively report like, hey, we see where you're in a cluster, make sure that all servers are on the same version. So that would be nice to add, and I think I can do that to my own packages easily enough. But for other distributions, it's going to be up to the individual packages. Now, most of the updates do not modify the database. As you can see here, we're at schema version 73, and that schema version has been kept since the beginning of LexD, all the way back more than 10 years ago, I guess at this point. When was that? 2014? Yeah, effectively about 10 years ago. So it's we don't change it very often. We don't change it with every release, and we definitely don't change it within an LTS. That's the one thing we will never do within an LTS release, is we'll never change the database schema. We might add API extensions, and we do that pretty regularly to backport minor features, but we will not change the schema in an LTS. So the idea is, effectively, right now we are blocking the update on either the schema being upgraded or the number of API extensions increasing. The only reason why we do it for the API extensions is because we want to report something consistent. We want a client talking to the cluster to be exposed with a list of API extensions that they can actually rely on. So currently we've been taking the easy way out of just requiring all of them to support the same ones. But we don't need to. As I said, API extensions are append only. So the general idea for like how to make this upgrade process a lot less painful in 90% of cases, let's say, is to allow cluster members to come online even if they've got a differing number of API extensions. That will still cause inconsistency, but then the consistency part we can fix by figuring out what's the effectively lowest API extension count within the cluster, and trimming the list of API extensions reported by all of the clustered servers to that number. So even if a given server supports now another 5 API extensions, if the others don't, then we just don't advertise it at all within the cluster. And that should be safe because they are extensions. They are not used to, like we don't cause backward incompatibility within a version, like within a major version. So there is no real concern there. And whenever we do a major version bump, usually we get a database schema update at the same time, so that avoids that inconsistency. So yeah, the idea is to effectively tweak the logic we have on startup right now to ignore the API extension count, and then modify the logic that returns the list of API extensions to know what number of extensions are supposed to be and cap to that limit. That's a bit tricky because that particular code path is very much in the hot path on our side. Effectively, every single API client that does something against Tinkas is going to be calling the /1.0 endpoint, which includes the list of all API extensions. So we need to make this extremely fast. Normally it's designed to only return stuff from memory. It doesn't touch the database at all. In this case, it is gonna need to know that set of API extensions. There are some ways we can try and deal with that, which is to effectively only like store the count on startup, and then update that count as we get heartbeats from the different other servers. And based on that, we can then effectively go and recheck that value, but only every 15 seconds or whatever, which should be okay. That shouldn't hammer the database too much, especially if we can do it within an existing database transaction. So we don't really do anything new. We just tack in like one extra query in there. So that's the idea. Now, this is a production cluster. I'm not gonna mess with this one for today. But let me just, what am I in here? Okay. So I'm just gonna connect to, I think I've got a test cluster that's running on my laptop, so I'm gonna be using that. Let's see, on my laptop, and server 01 maybe? Or is it cluster 01? Maybe cluster 01, let's see. Yep, okay, cluster 01, that is. Cool, so I'm gonna connect to all three of those. Cluster 02. And like for this case, it doesn't really matter how the cluster is set up. I think it's an LVM test cluster. We can check quickly. Storage list. Yeah, no, okay. It's even simpler. It's just basics. Very basic cluster. Okay. Oh, that's gonna be perfect for this. Let me check if it's running anything. Okay, it's running a couple of VMs. Just increasing the font a bit so it's easier for people to follow. There we go. Cool. So yeah, test cluster. I'm just gonna make sure those systems are fully up to date. Because I don't think I've touched them in a little bit, so that's probably a good idea. They're probably using daily incus. So yeah, they're using daily. Okay, so it's gonna run the latest daily incus across all of them, and then we're gonna be able to sideload a development binary. So the idea is to first kind of highlight the issues. What I'll do is just add a fake API extension, and then make a test binary, shoot that to one of the servers, and update it. And then we'll be able to show the behavior that's happening right now, with no database changes, but just an API extension change, and effectively this getting stuck. Then we can go and remove the check, which should cause that same server to be able to increase its API extension count and still start up just fine. But at that point, restarting any of the other two should have them fail with a message saying that they are behind and just refusing to start. So that's the other thing, like we effectively forbid downgrades. And we're gonna need to remove that check too. So that's the idea. Once those checks are removed, then we should have effectively the bulk of the logic in place. The main issue is then gonna be capping the list of API extensions. So we'll be able to show that depending on what server we're talking to, the list of API extensions is gonna vary, and we're gonna need to fix that. So that's the idea for today. Looks like I've got a kernel update in there, so that's taking a bit longer than I expected. All right, anyway, let's go look at the code. So this is a development tree here. I'm gonna go in version API, and we're gonna be adding a new API extension, and let's call it foo_bar_birds. Okay. So just rebuilding incus here with an extra API extension added. There's a question on what the goal is again. The goal is to allow for minor cluster updates, so effectively just a cluster update that doesn't touch the database, but adds API extensions to not require all of the servers to update at the exact same time. So that's in most cases, people will be able to update one server at a time and be fine. Some it's still not recommended because, well, we don't usually communicate when database is changed. That can happen just about at any time, but it's gonna be safe to always do within the LTS. So if you use 6.0, the 6.0 release, then you'll know that so long as you don't move to anything other than 6.0, you'll be able to update to 601, 602, 603 one server at a time if you feel like it, and that will be fine. All right, okay, servers are all updated. Let's just go and do some reboots in there. And then I will push the test binary to the first one. So I'm just changing a display setting here so I can actually see what I'm doing. Because I've got my mic right in front of the display right now, which is making it a bit harder to read. There we go. Okay. Cool. Now I can see everything. All right. So go bin incurd, and we want to transfer that to my laptop in cluster 01 and the root directory. Instance is not running. Okay. Sure. Any reason it's not running? Cluster 01. Laptop is running daily, so there might be a bug. I might just need to go on my laptop and actually update Incurd on there. Let's see what's going on. Oh, maybe it's a kernel issue. Who knows? Yeah, kernel issue. Sweet. Okay, what did we hit? Page fault in ZFS. Sweet. Well, that's gonna be inconvenient. Because when that happens, the only thing I can really do is reboot the entire machine. So I'm gonna have to do that. Just might as well apply all updates before I do that. So it's gonna cause a small delay. Sorry about that. All right. Anyway, applying package updates on my laptop. Then gonna need to reboot it. Probably force it to reboot actually because of the kernel issue. And then it will be back online. I should be able to start back those VMs. Not too sure what happened there. Like, is there anything else in trace that would give us some hints? Okay, so task was forking. It went to clean up the adaptive cache for ZFS. Went into ZFS prune, and that hit the page fault. Okay, so it's quite likely some kind of bit flip or bad memory type thing going on. It doesn't look like a kernel bug. It looks more like a hardware issue. So that's unfortunate. Seriously, is the machine not responding at all now? Yeah, that looks pretty dead. Hold on, can I go check on it? It's also giving me a lot of Wi-Fi related issues, related errors now. So that's not great. Let me see, does it ping at all? Good, then. Okay, it does ping. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it did lose network, connection timeout, and reconnected. That's not good. Okay. See if I can just finish that update. All right, so this got it downloaded. Now just need the update to apply and then reboot the machine, and that would be good to go. While that's going on, let's go see the logic for the cluster checks. I think if we look for is behind, we should find it, which is, yeah, database open code here. So this is what would happen if a server was to, so what I was saying, like we will be pushing the new version to the first server, restart it, and make it go past the file that is ahead of the others. Now, if we restart either of the other servers, they're gonna be hitting this one. So effectively, they're gonna notice that, hey, their binary is behind, and it's just gonna refuse starting. this is also a check. That's also the check that prevents downgrades, because downgrading when there's a database schema difference, that's gonna cause issues. Now, what I don't remember is whether we only check the schema version, or if we also check the API extensions for this one. So far, it really sounds like we're just doing the schema version, which would be perfectly fine. I'm just gonna go and check what select nodes versions does in live. Because that's the main thing. Okay, it's in query. Okay. Select nodes versions. Okay. No, it does select both. Okay, so it does select schema and API extensions. Returns a slice of binary integer tuples. Each tuple contains the schema version and number of API extensions of a node in the cluster. Right, so this is still gonna fail effectively because this logic returns both, and then that's not gonna work. After that, it was calling another function to do the comparison, so compare versions. So that's where we can go and tweak things a bit. So currently we've got 0, which is everything equal, we're good. 1, which is we're ahead. And 2, which is we're behind. Now, we could either have that return 0 if the API extensions are the same, or we could have like a third case, which is effectively schema version same, API extension is not. So let me actually check where we're using that function right now. Is it the only place we're using it? No, we're also using it in Node, which is less of an issue there, I think, because that's probably checking the local schema only. Let's see, how does it do? Oh no, it's just what reports whether the machines are behind or not. So it shows needs updating to a newer version. Okay, so in this case, we definitely needed to check the API extensions because we still want if you do incus cluster list, it should still show any server that is not on the current number of API extensions to show the unit to update. So that check, yeah, this one still needs to do it. What we might actually do is actually add an extra boolean to it. So if we do true, it also checks the API extensions. If we do false, then it does not. So that's probably the best way to do this. Now, what's this function doing? Node is updated. Node that returns true if there is some cluster nodes having an API or schema function greater than the node this method is invoked for. Okay, so for now, let's assume this one also needs to care about API extensions, given its own description, and see where that's being called from. Okay, in upgrade and in tests. Okay, cool. It's fine, and I wanted to look at the other one, not this one, this one. Okay, so in this case, we said we would call compare versions with false, so that we only check the schema at that in that case. Compare schema versions only. Just checking they don't mention extensions. No, okay. So that file is fine now. The next step was upgrade.go. So let's go see what that does in live. Upgrade. It's in cluster. Upgrade.go. So that calls node is updated. Maybe update check. This node version possibly runs incus cluster update. Okay, so that's actually fine. So this one is if you've set things up to automatically upgrade by having a hook. So there's a environment variable called incus cluster update that you can point to a script. And then whenever incus notices that machine is behind the rest, it will automatically call that script to try and update it. So that should also trigger on API extensions. So the default behavior of node is updated to also apply API extensions is correct. So that's, I think, pretty much all of the code path handled for compare version. yeah, they're all calling the right thing, and now I need to go and modify the function itself. Let me just check on my laptop. What's it doing? Okay, it's restarting things. That's never gonna complete because Incus is completely screwed up right now due to the ZFS thing. Let me just check what we have. So I'm gonna go ahead and kill this process here. That should do the trick as far as kind of unblocking things a bit, maybe. Actually, let's see if I can stop it. Incus socket there. I'm just trying to kind of unblock things enough to apply the package updates. Here we go. Okay, so the Incus update didn't fully apply. That's fine. The kernel update and stuff did, so we're good. Now let's go and reboot the laptop. Can actually see the things because it's the machine right behind me over there. So yeah, it's trying to reboot. I'm gonna give it a few more seconds, but it's gonna get stuck because that ZFS thing being blocked is gonna prevent it from rebooting. I'm gonna have to force it. So anyway, we were at the compare versions thing here, and we see it does check API extensions and all of that stuff. So we're gonna add a new argument here, which is check extensions, and make that a bool. Okay. So we see it compares effectively the two versions, so compares two servers. Now it grabs effectively extension 1, extension 2, and what the easy way out of this is if not check extensions. I'm just gonna set extension 1 and extension 2 to 0. So that this particular check always clears. Then we just check the schema at that point. Okay. Actually gonna end up having all of the code ready by the time the machine is finally ready to test that stuff. Okay, what did I mess up? 24 here. Extensions. All right. Be right back. Just gonna restart the laptop now. Okay, it's gonna reboot. Just gonna need to log into that thing until the disk passphrase shortly. But anyways, so that built fine. Now let's go do a static analysis run. Make sure that there's no code styling or anything that needs fixing. And then we'll get to see what actually happens. I'm probably still gonna do a few builds, effectively do a build with just the API extension, send that over, show what happens, then do the full build, push it over, show that this should unblock things. Hopefully we'll show that some machines are behind, and then once that's done, then show the behavior if we were to restart one of the older servers. That should just fail effectively on restart, and then sideload the new version on those two, and that should unblock everything. Okay, suspicious assignment to a by value method receiver. Okay, what's going on there? 159. It's not new code, but yeah, we're effectively masking n. Okay. Gonna re-up that 159. Okay, so we should probably just do ret instead of n. That should make that clearer, because we're kind of like redefining the same variable for different type. That's not very good practices. So that should fix it. I'm gonna just enter the password on my laptop. and it's booting back up. So it should connect to Wi-Fi shortly and then be able to access it again. So that static analysis thing is fixed now. Just gonna rerun that and make sure it's clean. And yeah, laptop's still booting. Just waiting for the login screen over there to know that it's connected back to Wi-Fi and that I can use it again. Just ping the laptop. Okay, so it is on network, cool. Was it this? Yeah, it was this one I was using for the servers, okay. Come on. Okay. Cluster 01, no, okay, fine. Let's have the right scroll back on this one. Okay, not running. Hopefully it feels like starting. Though it's gonna be a bit annoying. Come on, be nice. Don't really want to have to turn this stream into a ZFS debugging stream. But this is not looking good. Alright. What is going on over there? Okay, ZFS is not complaining right now, so that's good. Still, the VM is not actually starting up, so that's also not great. But let's see what's Incus doing anyways. Yeah, it's trying to set the mount point on ZFS. It's also running a image conversion at the same time, so it's a bit busy. I'm not seeing any ZFS failures in here. Let's see. Yeah, Zpool is happy. Oh, okay, the ZFS command is gone, so that's good. Yay, it started. All right, now it probably was just doing some recheck, given it's went through a pretty tough shutdown, to put it mildly. Okay, so the VMs are starting back up now. And then we can go and get the shell on 1, on 2, and on 3. Here we go. Okay, no idea if they're actually in good shape, so I'm just gonna recheck them real quick. Because, well, given the rough shutdown, who knows? Okay, yeah, just pending stuff, it's fine. Cool. Okay. So, cluster list, are we online? Yes. VMs are running, all good. All right, so let's go ahead and look at our changes here. So we currently have the new argument being added and being passed correctly in a few different places, and the change to the function itself. I am not gonna be doing any of those right now, so I just want to, actually, let me just clear this guy. Okay. Gonna stash all of that stuff on the side and just do an API extension. So here we'll just do foo bar bars and generate a binary. So again, expected behavior here is that this binary will effectively make Incus think that it's ahead of the rest and refuse to start up. Like it's gonna hang, waiting for the others to match and effectively just keeping that machine offline until they all have it. Cluster 01, okay. So just pushing that on that first VM here. And now move that to over the normal binary, cd, and restart Incus. And this is, actually I can do no wait, I think. No block. Okay, so there we go. It's now restarted Incus and shows wait for other cluster members, cluster nodes to upgrade their version, cluster not started yet. So if we go look at the rest, it's technically, like it's responding to the database, but it does not, like it will not let you actually do anything on that system yet. It just hangs effectively. Now, if we go look at the database table, we should see why. which is right here. So we've got 407 now for API extensions. The other ones are at 406. So it's just gonna remain stuck there. And the others are otherwise functional. Now, if we do so if I go and reset that and get our change in place and build that, and now I push this onto the first server and restart it, it should ignore effectively that mismatch and just be happy to start. It's going to have an API extension that's higher than the rest. So that should be fine. Let's just make sure it actually works that way. So again, copying the binary over. There we go. And we see like effectively every minute, it's retesting. So I thought it was every 10 seconds, every minute actually. Anyway, let's restart it again. So the process exited. Okay, I told you to restart that because it's a bit confused because it was halfway through. Hey, okay, it's there. I guess it just doesn't log anything useful because it's happy, maybe. What's the, no, that's been running too long. Systemd. I mean, because I'm running it in no block, so I don't really have much control about what's going on. Okay, now it has actually restarted. Good. And we see no waiting error type stuff, and it's responding. So it did unblock as expected, so that's good. Now, what's weird is that they should not report, they should report as update pending. So I'm not sure why that is. Let me just check. Oh no, actually, right. There's no update pending in this scenario because my test API extension is not there. So it effectively just reverted to the previous API extension. It's all nice and consistent. So let's add back an API extension because otherwise the test is a bit meaningless. Gonna push that again. And this time it should go to API extension 407. If queried about the other servers, it should say that they're behind, but it shouldn't itself get stuck on that at restart. So if we move that and do restart, and this time I'm gonna do a bit blocking because it shouldn't block. There we go. It did not. We're at 407, it's fine. And okay, it's still not reporting the other ones as being behind, which is weird. It might be because the leader has to do that. Let's see what happens if I restart this guy. Oh no, if I restart this guy, something bad's gonna happen. So, anyways, we'll sort that out. So right now we've got that setup where that image schema version is the same on all, and that machine is one API extension ahead, and it did not block. So that's effectively that main issue fixed. But we do have the problem that if we go look at its API extensions, it's gonna report foobar bars when the others do not. So that's an issue because now depending on what server the client is talking to, it's getting off for different API extensions. That's gonna be rather confusing. So we don't really want that. But next, I'm just gonna show what happens with the current logic if one of the other two servers were to restart now. And that's not gonna be good. Because it's gonna hit the other case I showed earlier, which, there we go, failed to start the daemon. This cluster's members version is behind, please upgrade. So what I'm gonna do here is actually remove the API extension again, because we do want some amount of mismatch in that cluster for testing. So I'm gonna just remove it, generate a new binary and push that one to the other two. So cluster 01 is gonna have the new logic and the extra API extension. Cluster 02 and 03 will have the new logic, but not the new API extension. That should make everything work, and then we can work on the actual getting like trimming the list of API extensions to what's supported. Okay, so incast D, opt incast bin, and restart incast. and then same thing here, incus d opt incus bin, and restart incus. Okay, so it's happy, it's online, but it is complaining, and this one's complaining too. So now they've noticed that effectively they are behind on API extensions, which is still not reported here. So that's weird. I wonder if it's because we've got two statuses and we just don't see the right one. What's going on? Because I would really like this to show that we need to upgrade. Costa 02. Okay, yeah, that doesn't really help us much. Yeah, it's just fully operational. Yeah, okay. I kind of want to look into that one a bit for a few minutes. It's not really the goal of this live stream, but that kind of bothers me. It shouldn't show fully operational when there's a mismatch. So let's go see. So it's in this one. There we go, fully operational. So, like I would have expected to hit this one. The status blocked message needs updating to newer version. Now, why didn't it? So it's not evacuated. It is not offline. So it should be in this one. And this one hits. Okay, so it pulls max version with the local version. Okay. Is max version wrong? So that might be it. Let's see, how is max version calculated? Maybe max version just looks at the schema and doesn't look at schema and API extensions. Okay, what? Come on. Max versions, how the hell is that? It just compares to nothing? What? I'm really confused what's going on here. Version. Yeah, that makes no sense. Like this is supposed to be the maximum schema version within the cluster. And this is supposed to be us. I suspect that our version works correctly. Like it does look at end.schema, end.api extension, so that should be fine. But max version here, it's never set. So how is that ever supposed to work? That's really odd. Okay, maybe I'm missing something, or maybe I'm not. Let's go look. It only checks for the number 1 case, not number 2. So let me just add a quick bit of debugging here. So that's gonna be max version, that's gonna be our version, and that's gonna be ret. Max version, our version, and ret. And let's shove that at one of the servers. It's gonna be easiest to figure it out. Okay, logging package is not loaded. Let's fix that. There we go. Like, from what I'm reading, it's comparing it to 0. And it's looking at the 1 value specifically, which would be machine behind, I believe. So it would just never get that. It would always get 2, I guess. And that would avoid that error, but it also means that that error effectively never worked. Or at least at some point something was refactored and broke it. So let's restart this thing and then look at the journal. Okay. So if I hit that machine with cluster list, there we go. Yeah, so it does show 0, 0. It does show API extensions. It does show 2. Okay, so it's exactly what I was thinking. So max version is not set at all. That check is completely useless. Cool. So that explains it. Now, do we have a database function that actually does this correctly? So we need to look for API extensions. in the database specifically, so not looking at the schema. Where would that be? So not patches, not on open, probably not query. So this one is pretty close to what we need. This guy here. But there's DB node, that's probably where those functions are. Because I would kind of expect, yeah, max API extension or something like that. So let's go look at this guy. Oops. So the one I've got open already? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So this one, get node max version. There we go. That's exactly what we want. It's just not called. I don't know why. But let's just make it work. That will be a bit better, I think. Also, I'm not sure why it's scoped all the way up here. Okay, do we have a database context anywhere in here already? No, we don't. Okay. I mean, we actually no, we do have a tx cluster.tx. Okay, so we already within a database transaction context, so that's good. Check for max db schema and API extensions. So that would be max version we're getting from there, and we need this guy. And what does it want as far as arguments? I know it's in the same file, but yeah. Okay, so it's on tx and wants a context. Okay, tx dot, and do we have a context already? We have a context. Sweet. Okay, so it's just passing the context and handle errors. Okay. So hopefully that's gonna make this work properly now. Okay, pushing that. I've kept the debugging in place just in case this doesn't actually work properly. Okay, that did not work properly. Did I just forget to do something? Yeah, okay. That would be why. If I test the wrong binary, not gonna work. Cool. So try that now. There we go. And it realizes that it's itself behind, which was the thing I wanted to make sure was correct. So it does show blocked, needs updating to newer version. It's not really blocked. It does report that status. It's useful for debugging, but the machine is still, you can still interact with it, which is what we want in that scenario. But for anything that's trying to do complex cluster operation, or if you're trying to migrate stuff, it's gonna just fail and tell you like, hey, you're behind, fix it. So that's what we want. Cool. So that definitely needed fixing. Let me just try and capture that as a separate comment because that's unrelated, but yeah, that needed fixing. So db node fix max version or fix version check in get API, I guess. Okay, so not this guy, not that guy. Yeah, this one I need. And this one, not all of it. So this bit we need. This bit we don't yet. And this is debugging. This is also not needed for that. And not this one. Not that one. Okay, so I think just that one fix effectively sort out the issue. So that's good. Now I'm gonna go and just undo my debugging. Just to have that file open. Okay, so I can remove that actually. Yeah, okay. Cool. So now let's commit this chunk as well. So db, just do allow cluster startup with different API extensions. Okay. So yep, and yep. Okay. And this needs to close our GitHub issue. Just need to get the number for that. Issue 999. Already at 1,000. Huh? That was quick. Cool. So that's for that piece. Now let's just build that. Yeah, I'm gonna just do a quick update on that. Probably build this one, push it on all three. They should all be happy at that point. Then I'll add the foobar bars extension again, push that to 0.1. So effectively making it one extension ahead of the rest again. And then we can iterate on the code for that one to notice that it's ahead and trim its extension list down to the count of all of the others. So the good thing is that we do have the function for, well, actually no, we needed a function similar to the get max one that effectively gets us get min. So we can do that. Let's do cluster 01. Hold on. Here we go. Laptop went to sleep. I'm not logged in, so it just goes to sleep after 15 minutes or something. Just need to wait for it to go back on network. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Two and three. And those didn't even disconnect, so that's cool. Restart. Move. Restart. Move. Restart. Okay. So, all happy and good. I'm just gonna go check the state in the database that it's all consistent. Should be. Yeah, back to 406. We're good. Okay. So let's just go here and add IP extension again. Transfer that to 0.1, and we should be back to having the problem with everything else fixed. And then just need to add some logic to trim that extension list. Okay, so let's push cluster 0.1. Okay, over there, just need 0.1. Move, restart. Okay, incas cluster list. Here we go, we're ahead of the rest now. Equal, we're good, 7347. And if we go look at the XP extension list, it will be incorrectly reporting the extra extension cluster-wide, so foobar bars. Now, let's go change that. So that's in shared API, not shared, it's in incasd, cmd incasd API 10. Okay. And API extensions, it's here. So we can see it's pretty straightforward. It just picks what we have for API extensions and returns it. Now, if we do that to 206, I guess. Don't remember if we need to put the 0 and go anymore. Let's see. I rarely do the indexing within slices. Doesn't look like we do, so that's cool. Okay. So just gonna be pushing that on 0.1, restart it, and see if the general logic works. I mean, obviously I'm not gonna keep a hard-coded value in there, that would be bad, but for testing purposes, that should be all right. So we still have API extensions, and we are at network of a NAT as the last one. Does that line up with the others? No, it's not. But I think it's because I'm off by a few hundred. Yep. Okay, so we want 406. But the general concept worked. Like, it definitely shrank the list significantly. So that's good. With 406, now we should get to the same API extension as the rest, which is OCI, I believe, from what I remember seeing briefly. So let's move and restart. Just gonna recheck. Where's 02? So yeah, the last API extension, was it OCI? Yeah, instant OCI, okay. And then on 0.1, it is now this change, instance OCI. There we go. Okay, cool. So that works fine. Now, as mentioned, this is extreme like hot path as far as we're concerned. So we cannot do a database query in that function. So we'll need to pull that count from somewhere. Now, the easiest logic, what do we have access to? We've got access to D, which is the daemon. And we've got access to the state. The daemon is also what handles startup and the heartbeats, which makes it a pretty good spot to store that for now. So we can probably just do this, so d.max API. Let's do d.api extensions, something like that. Now we need to populate this stuff, so I'm gonna go in the daemon itself. Okay, I need to get the daemon struct up here. Stores a bunch of stuff, because this is not information that needs to be passed through the entire code base. It's something we just need access for this one function. So where are we gonna put that? Is there anything, any good place to shove it? That's already kind of used for that. Start time task. Yeah, not really. Okay. Just gonna put a new section. So max API extensions as integer is fine. Okay. What we can do is we can make it default to its old value. So it was from version, I think. Yeah, version.api extensions. So the length of that effectively. Okay. So that should work. So it effectively just restores the old behavior, but by accessing that field on a struct we already have access to. So that should be pretty straightforward. Okay. And now what we need is to actually, oops. Just closing a bunch of stuff here. Okay. Let's look for the heartbeat. Heartbeat hook. Okay. Node refresh task is what's being called. Okay. And do we open a database transaction at some point in there? So I'm wondering, because if we do, that would be convenient. So we don't make things any slower than we need to. Don't really see one though. Okay, so there's a check here. Last node list version API extensions is not API extensions. Okay, so it does check, but it doesn't check in a useful way because it's gonna tell us. Yeah, it's probably gonna be telling us the cluster-wide one. Okay, that actually has me wonder. Let's add a bit of debugging in here. So I wonder if we already have there's a heartbeat being sent every so often. That gives us some amount of cluster-wide information, things on, for example, the API extensions. So that's something that's used to figure out whether we need to update. So if we change that, we're probably gonna have a problem. Anyway, I'm I'm tempted to go and do a quick dump of that. So if last node list is not null, I would like to see logger rf and yeah, the version stuff effectively. So last node list version. So I want to see what that contains because it might contain what we need. And in all cases, I want to look at the heartbeat data one for the current value of that. So let's share heartbeat data. Okay. Cool. So let's push that over to that first server. Where is it? This one. Move, restart, and then let's grab the log. Current schema version 73, API extensions 407. Okay. So that is showing us the max for the cluster, which is fine. What we might be able to do is actually add another field to that. If we can put like a min API extension to that field, then we can use that and cap that value instead. So that would be good. Let me check why that API extensions thing is filled. I'm pretty sure it's on the, it's going to be in a heartbeat on the server side. Okay. Yeah, here we go. It's probably being filled here. Max API extensions version is right here. So that's in that code. Because we can expand that a bit. API extensions. Okay, so that's what we're seeing. Schema and API extension. Shared. Okay, just do min. It's clear. I'm not gonna change the other one to max or something because like we need to keep that backward compatible. But adding another field to this should be safe. So it just gives us that field. Okay. All right. So next we need to figure out where this is filled. So API extensions, heartbeat update. So there's it picks up max schema, max API extensions. We'll also need like a min API extensions version int, I guess. Node is yeah, exactly. Okay, so it is going through all of the nodes and then calculating this stuff. So we do if node that if min API extensions version is 0 or node.api extensions is lower than min API extensions version. So effectively doing the reverse of the logic above. And then that becomes main API extensions version is that one. Okay. And that's the heartbeat it's preparing. So here we just need to do the min API extensions is min API extensions version. Cool. Okay, I messed something up. Let's go see. All right. Okay. So now I'm just going to be pushing that to cluster 01 and make sure it doesn't explode. Because like that struct's gonna be inconsistent, which is fine. There we go. So we see schema version 73, API extensions 47, min API extensions 0. So that's fine. It just shows that the current leader does not send the data across. So that's okay. That's what's gonna be happening in upgrades. It just means that we should only reset the global count if we're higher than 0, because otherwise we're gonna have a problem. So that's fine, and that's the logic here. So what we need to do is whenever we get a heartbeat, if heartbeat data.version.min API extensions is well, higher than 0 and extension. I mean, we can just reset it if it's higher than 0. That should be fine, actually. That way might be safer to make sure that it's not equals, so we don't needlessly do it. What did we call it? It's just API extensions, I think. Okay, so d.api extensions now becomes this guy. Okay, so again, when I push that, because we've currently got 0 as the value, it should not do anything. We should still see our foobar show up. Okay, it restarted. And if we do info and go look, the long list. Yep, it's still there. Okay, so that's working as expected. Hopefully, like the logic did kick in. Like it didn't. If it had not worked properly, we would probably have shrunk it to 0, and then well, we wouldn't have seen any API extension. So that looks good. Now what we need to do is just remove the change. So remove the extra API extension there. Build this again, and this time push it to the other 2 servers so that the cluster leader starts sending that data as part of the heartbeats, at which point the first server that has the extra API extension should receive its minimum API extension and shrink the list to that. At least that's the idea. Let's see if that works. If it works, it's great, because we've literally not done any additional database calls whatsoever. It's just iterating through data it already has, and just extending the heartbeat data a tiny bit to accommodate that. So let's do this guy, and let's do that guy. Okay, so they should show us being behind. Yes. Admin SQL global, just gonna check the table. Okay, 47, 46, fine. And those guys, I'm just making sure, but they should show OCI, the most recent API extension. Come on, where is it? There we go. It is instance OCI, yeah. Okay, and now did this guy freak out? Heartbeat request failed. Okay, so there was like a temporary glitch where the server was not online. That's fine. Let's go see all the way down here. Instance OCI. Sweet. So that's working exactly as expected. Now what should happen, and we can check that theory too. Like that code is fine, so I'm just gonna clean it up, commit it. But then the next check is to actually add back the API extension, push it to the other 2 servers, and make sure they all report foobar bars now. So effectively that cluster 01 unrestricts itself once things are consistent again across the cluster. And we'll be done. I'm just gonna go move my mouse or something on my laptop to avoid it going to sleep again. There we go. And yeah, just doing static analysis, committing this code. and then doing a quick check to make sure that when things become consistent again, the new API extension is exposed and will be done. Okay. All right, so no issue with static analysis, that's all good. So we're just doing the extend heartbeat data for minimum API extension. Okay, just puts a bit of logic in there. Maximum API extension count that's done today to detect needed upgrades, but also the minimum value. So new servers can restrict the expose to clients while waiting for the cluster to be consistent. Okay. So that's it for that. And now just need to add the API extension and make sure that it works. So again, go back down the list and we're gonna do bars, make that, push it, and we'll be done. Let's try that. I think that should really take care of probably a solid 80 to 90% of cluster updates. It's gonna take care of 100% of those within the LTS branch. So that should really make things a lot smoother for a lot of users and hopefully reduce the number of support issues and questions we get. Effectively just keeping the more complex, the need for updating all the servers at the same time for when more significant changes happen that actually update the database. So all servers have got the new binary. I'm not gonna put it in place or restart it on 0.1 because the whole point is that this server is already running. It's already on the new version, and it was just artificially capping its API extension list. So let's see, what does it show now? It still shows instance OCI, so it hasn't updated yet. That can just be a matter of time. What are the others doing right now? Foobar bars, okay. Like we do need a heartbeat, and heartbeats are sent every 10 to 15 seconds, so it could just not have gotten it. Foobar bars, okay, so we're all good except for 0.1. Is 0.1 good now? Foobar bars, yep, all good. So that's working as expected. Within 10 to 15 seconds, the heartbeats are exchanged again, the data is updated, and we're good. So that works exactly as it should. And this part of the change I'm definitely not pushing, because it was just a test, and can push that to GitHub. And now go here, compare main. Okay. Okay. Relax, cluster grid requirements around API extensions. And here we go. So that's one like fully done, like really like did all of the investigation, a bunch of testing to make sure the logic works, even fixing a bit of an issue around the current version check, which was only half written for some reason. So that should make things much better because people will actually get accurate information now when they look at their cluster list, and they're also like not likely to get stuck doing upgrades as much as they were in the past. So that's it for that issue. I think that's going to be a very welcome change. It's also a very small change, which is great. It means I can actually already cherry pick it and push it through both the stable and LTS packages I maintain, so that you don't need to wait for the next version of Incus to introduce that. So the next upgrade goes smooth. I can effectively push that already so that when the next Incus version comes out, that's already in place, people don't get stuck. So really good. Hopefully that kind of gave you a few, better understanding of some of those slightly more hidden areas of Incus. like the whole clustering, heartbeat, all of that logic, because that's not something that many people really see day to day, but that's how those clusters work. And now we've got that logic in place. Thanks a lot for watching along. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment description below, or you can go on the forum. And as I said, this logic is going to probably be rolling out to most users in the next few days, simply because it doesn't really hurt to have that in place. It actually fixes a bug on top of that, and it will just make things so much smoother for the upgrade. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you in the next live stream, most likely next week. Bye everyone. Thanks for watching.